Afternoon, I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Selma Planning Board to order. We'll do just a quick roll call, and then we'll look at the agenda for this evening, which looks to be pretty brief. Ms. Bailey,
Here.
Ms. Watson,
Present.
Todd H. here, Todd M.
Here.
So all members of the planning board are present, and we are able to conduct the business of the town this evening. Thank you, guys. We've received the agenda a week or so ago. We have a couple of regular line items, and then under business items, just a couple of things to look at this evening. Any revisions or adjustments to the agenda from staff? Any revisions or adjustments from the board members?
No.
Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
And is there, all those in favor say aye. Oh, second. Sorry, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then for number 3, we have annually, we have the mayor and some council members who will pop in and just kind of give us a little heads up on some things that are going on. With that, I will turn it over to our esteemed mayor.
Thank you, Chair Holmes. Thank you, Planning Board. Thank you all for continuing to serve the town of Selma. Thank you for being here this evening. We don't have too much going on internally. Of course, the normal churn of business is people are knocking on the door to come into Selma, North Carolina. But of course, with the state legislature, we are seeing a lot of bills being floated as of recently that are intended on putting some interesting changes to our zoning and planning abilities as towns. Off the top of my head, Bill 765, I believe that fantastic number was, we talked about as municipalities for many, many months, pretty much would have handcuffed any ability for us to plan and zone within our own communities as far as development was concerned. Thankfully, they put that on the back burner. Of course, we still do not have a budget from the state legislature yet. But with that in mind, as we are going forward and planning, there could be some significant change to our planning and zoning abilities. But right now, we have not seen any changes directly beyond what has happened in our last cycle. And of course, there were some major handcuffs put on municipalities as far as down zoning was concerned. So the ability to take land from a greater density to less density was restricted significantly in recent months. And we see that trend continuing going forward as we have a legislature that's leaning toward development, quite frankly, as we expand in the state of North Carolina. Whether or not it's good or bad, we will of course, abide by any laws that come down from our state legislature. But if we do have concerns, we will voice those concerns. Otherwise, as you can see, all the exciting development happening across 95, and of course, the infill development happening here on this side of 95 in Selma, North Carolina. We have a lot coming in our beautiful town. Do you have any questions for me while I'm here? Council, did you want to add anything?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Amy West Whitley, and I wanted to thank you for serving on this board. I've served on several of Selma's boards and committees, as well as many boards and committees in Johnston County. And it truly is something to serve and be a volunteer for your town, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
There was a lot floating around about the property tax. Do you mind explaining that? Get a better understanding of, I know what the county commissioners passed, but then for the town.
So the town of Selma did not change its tax rate with the reevaluation. So of course, with the reevaluation, the values of everybody's property went up. The town of Selma left its tax rate the same, so that was an increase in the tax revenue from the increased values on the properties. The Johnston County Commissioners did actually lower their tax rate in consideration of that increased valuation. And so with us, overall, the tax dollars increased for our properties in the town of Selma, as it did in many municipalities as they made adjustments to their tax rates as Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Now, I tell everybody reevaluations for properties are really an indicator of the cost to do business. So the cost to pave that road in front of your house, the cost to pay a police officer, the cost to pay a firefighter. Anything that comes out of the general fund has to be considered with the cost and value of your home. So to give you an idea of what we're talking about, we now have, from where we were starting off our police officers at $40,000 a year just 4 years ago, we are now starting off our police officers around $55,000 a year. And that is in response to communities like Rocky Mount, communities like even Smithfield, Cary, starting their police officers off at 60,000 plus. Same trend for firefighters. The cost to pave a road is absurd. Powell bill does not cover it these days. So Powell bill is the amount of money that we get from the state through Powell bill to pave roads regularly. The cost of paving is definitely outpaced what comes in for Powell bill. So those reevaluations take into account what it takes to manage and keep property in the town of Selma with all the services that are needed to service that property. Okay? Anything else?
I have a question. I've noticed, and I'm sure everyone has, there is a lot of growth in Selma.
Yes, ma'am.
So has that prompted any conversations about the size of your emergency operations, you know, like your fire department, your rescue, and police officers also?
Yes,
If you got a larger community, the departments that you have now, is their size big enough to handle the growth?
That conversation was very heavy on this budget cycle. So what we've done is the budget for the police department all told has increased by, is it 800, 900,000? Between 800 and 900,000 to hire another police officer on each shift and a detective. With that, we also are hiring another firefighter for each shift as well. We are working on a second fire station currently. We've been working on that for a couple of years. Those are usually about a 4-year turnaround. And that'll be on the other side of JCATS on Noble Street, so that we are on both sides of the track to be able to handle any emergency that might occur. We've already ordered a second fire engine because turnaround for fire engines is now approaching 4 years. So we ordered a fire engine 2.5 years ago, and we were still waiting for it. We have thankfully stayed ahead of that conversation. Again, when it comes to the conversation about reevaluations and an increase of tax dollars, understanding what was coming was part of that budget process that we've had this year to increase all of those first responder services.
So I'm gonna ask this question because so with the hiring of the additional police officers and the firefighters, what are our numbers? Have they increased as far as the response rate of the individuals calling 911 for the fire department and for the police? Have that number increased?
Call numbers have increased across the board steadily for the last 3 years and continue to increase. Yes, ma'am. In fact, we're starting to see year after year, not just single percentage increase, but double-digit percentage increase in calls.
And they are for what type?
I don't have a list in front of me. I couldn't even begin. They are across the gambit, that. And then beyond that, when you talk about an increased population, we're then talking about speeding tickets, running stop signs, the mundane things that need to be done properly to make sure that we do not create an unsafe environment in Selma, North Carolina. Now, that's not just from our population growing, but you also have to bear in mind, we have more population coming through Selma, North Carolina. So coming from Flowers, they're having to increase all of Buffalo Road because of the amount of traffic that is occurring right now. Increases to the size of 301 because of the amount of traffic. A future 42 that is under construction for the last decade will continue to expand through Selma, North Carolina. We might not see a massive increase in population because of how we are planning in Selma, North Carolina, but the population around us, no matter what, is going to boom, and those folks are going to come through Selma, North Carolina.
And so what is the projection of the population in the next 5 years
What are you talking about for Johnson County?
for Selma?
Well, for Selma in the next 5 years, we hope and are trying our best to keep it under 10,000. Now, we'll get close to it, but we are cruising around a little over 7,000 right now. If we can keep it under 10,000, and that's also for grant purposes as well, we'll be doing well, but that's going to be a hard task. So we'll be floating around 10,000 in the next 5 years.
And I do know the other towns that we were compared to, I know their population is far more than Selma's, you know, the Rocky Mount, the Careys that were mentioned. Far more heavily populated than our town is.
Well, you got to bear in mind, Raleigh actually still starts their police officers at less than Selma, North Carolina does. So those values have nothing to do with the population of a particular community. It just depends on where a community decides to lay its eggs, quite frankly.
And so for our recruitment of these police officers, where have the last couple of recruits come from? Have they come from the community college? Are we getting them from other cities?
Yes and yes. So we have had officers come in from other communities. We do have a very tight relationship with JCC and BLET because a couple of our officers are instructors there. So we do also have a program where we can, pay for the cost for the BLET program with a guarantee of service from that individual once we get them through BLET, that service to the town of Selma.
So how many officers have we paid for their education that are currently still in the
Couldn't tell
force?
you off the top of my head. I can't even begin to guess, but that's certainly information you can get from staff if you'd like.
Okay. Alrighty.
Any other questions? Good questions. Good to go?
See someone was quick to respond to a call just now?
All day here in Selma, North Carolina, but everybody have a wonderful evening. Again, volunteerism is something that is disappearing in our communities, and I'm thankful that we still have people willing to do the work and do it correctly. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right?
Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Whitley, thank you for being here as well. Okay. If we look at our minutes from our July 28th planning board meeting that were shared with us, were there any corrections, revisions, updates that anyone saw that needed to be made?
No,
Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We approve. Thank you, guys. Looks like two business items. First one regarding some amendments, and with that, we'll turn it over to staff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Mr.
I have a planning board review recommendation of a major subdivision preliminary plat and its accompanying special use permit. The applicant is Homes by Michael Ford LLC, and the property address is 212 West Griswold Street. We have two of the people from the applicant team here today. At a brief, this is a use by right in the TR zone since it's duplexes, it's not multifamily. And they are here for the major subdivision process because they are individually deeding the lots for sale rather than having the whole property be a rental development. Staff believes that this proposal is consistent with the town of Selma UDO and comprehensive land use plan. And I ask that my staff report and supporting documents be entered into evidence as testimony. If you have any questions for me or the applicant group.
Are we able to show the map? I'm trying to, I think Griswold is here, but I just can't remember.
It's right off North Pollock Street,
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
behind the school.
Apologies.
Behind the school, kind of.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought, so I just,
There was a was it Publix pool over there?
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Somebody can have something to say. The duplexes, they're gonna, bottom and top,
Side by side.
side by side. And how many bedrooms for each?
2 to 3.
So the total number of units,
8.
just 8.
8 dwellings, 4 duplexes, all individually deeded.
They're looking not to rent them, but to sell, correct?
I think they're originally going to start it off while they're setting up the HOA to rent originally, and then they're going to have an HOA and then individually sell once the development's prepared.
Okay, so what are we making a recommendation for?
It's a preliminary plat and special use permit that's going to go to council.
So our recommendation would be for council to
Yes.
Consider,
consider
That
the
it's
special.
consistent with the land use plan? Is it consistent? No, it's not consistent.
Yeah,
Yeah, so just a recommendation.
And if all of this works out with the town, when do you guys expect to be able to break ground? I mean, it doesn't have, I'm not asking you for a date, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
If you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name's Lisa Cooper, and my address is 108 Schaefer Close, Cary, North Carolina. The development, once we get your approval, we also have a parallel process to get approved by Johnston County, and that is hopefully going to happen quickly. Once that happens, then there'll be the construction process of the units. So I would say within a year.
Okay.
But I don't have a crystal.
Sure. We understand. We just like to kind of get an idea with some other stuff going on as the town is growing, when that housing will be available. So if we're looking for- And then the idea again is to sell these individually and not develop it yourselves and rent out the spaces.
Yeah, we're gonna start off, as Taylor said, and try to get the use and make sure that the landowners, the renters are comfortable, that there aren't additional things that HOAs need to absorb, because sometimes construction, we want to make sure that the use fits the surrounding area and is running well. And then once we know that, we'll probably run it and then sell, find deeded people that want to, will form an HOA, and we'll be part of the HOA and slowly sell the units. So there'll be private streets. We want to make sure that they're kept well and that it doesn't burden the HOA.
And I take it the pool will be filled in and all that demolished.
Yes, the pre-existing use won't be there anymore. No attractive nuisances for anybody, and we hope to be very good neighbors.
Yeah, I have a question. Why are you putting an HOA on such a small parcel?
So with duplexes, you're sharing roofs and private roads. And when you go to sell, you have to make sure that those costs are fairly shared. And that's why we're going to rent them in the beginning. We won't form an HOA right away. We'll form it as we start to sell. Does that make sense to you? So you're sharing roofs.
No, I understand that. So is it going to be a limited scope for the joint municipal obligations, cares? Or is it gonna be an all-inclusive, like, appearance and permitting and, things like that?
No, it would just be like, let's say that someone is, there's a pothole in the private road, it needs to be addressed.
But, okay, again, so the HOA will address only the communal aspects of the properties. If
Exactly.
somebody wants to paint their house purple, would the HOA have anything to say about that?
The HOA will have rules and regulations that the residents can decide. Some of that, some of it will be pre-filed with declarations. It won't be like individual houses where they'll be shared, it'll be a shared community. There'll be a shared mailbox. People won't be able to, it has to be maintained to a certain standard.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
Okay.
understand.
And many of those restrictions will be in the leases, so it won't be new to anybody. So it won't be like a traditional lease that doesn't show that should they want to buy them, there'll still be a few additional shared expenses.
Okay.
But they'll be subject to all municipal rules too.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from staff? Good. So is there a recommendation, is there a motion for us to make a recommendation to town council to approve the special use permit?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. So just so you guys know, we're just making a recommendation to the town council. The town council will then reconvene or reconvene and make a final decision with that. So, thank y'all for taking the time. Anything else from staff before we move on to business item 5B? So as the town clerk reminded me, it's August. August is when we do our board elections. We have a chairman and a vice chair for our board. It's a one-year term. Your term on the board can exceed your term as the chair or as the vice chair. Your term as the chair or vice chair does not align with your term on the board. It's just a one-year term. Okay. So at this point, I will open the floor for some general discussion, and then we can see who's interested, not interested, and determine our chair and vice chair moving into the next year.
In general, I like things how they are.
Is that a motion to an acclamation for the current chair, board chair for next year to serve another term? So what did you get with that?
Yes.
Good. So there's a motion for the current slate of chair, vice chair to remain for the next year. There's a second.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody working together. I like that we can communicate. We don't always see everything eye to eye, which I think is important, because that's the whole purpose of the board, is to bring in different perspectives. But I do think we get along and we work well and we support the town. And that's, I think, a big part of what we should be doing. So thank you guys for
I
that.
do have a question. Are we gonna fill the fifth position?
Do we have some? So if you know anybody.
You can ask for a raise.
With that, we do not have any closed session, items. Our next meeting will be September 22nd, September 22nd. There's 5 Mondays in September, right? Yep. So it'll be that fourth Monday. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I just want to say thank you to the town. Thank you for keeping us abreast. Thank you for the emails and the hard work that you do. I'm very appreciative of it.
And I appreciate, not to talk poorly of previous staff, but we used to have meetings that were an hour and a half or 2 hours sometimes, and we got the same amount of stuff done that we got done in 24 minutes. Ms. Whitley knows. So So I thank you guys for keeping the meetings concise and to the point as well. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say